Welcome back, guys, to a very special edition of some show that has no name. This is the top 12 teams heading into Dreamhack prediction show. And we're going to go through and we're going to try and predict. Now, obviously, we don't know the exact seeding yet. And we'll quickly go over the format as well. It's probably going to be impossible to get all these right because certain matches might happen where two of my 5-8s are playing each other in the bracket. Then, one of them has finished top 4. It's just the way it is. But we're going to try our best here. And if we're exactly right, then we're going to brag on Twitter for the rest of time. If we're wrong, it'll just be forgotten. And that's why predictions are great. So, let's get into it. First, the format. The format works. You have groups of 4 on day number 1. Double elimination. So, groups will probably be like number 1 seed, number 15 seed, with the 18 seed and then the 32 seed. Basically, just so you don't have rematches later on. So it won't be exactly like 1, 16, 17. But if a team beats another team, they're going to take their seed, basically. So if a 15 seed does beat a 1 and they come out of that group in first place, then they're the 1 seed going into day number 2. So groups are going to get a little bit funky. Sorry for about my cold. Hopefully I get over it in time for my flight, which is in 10 hours. So let's hope and pray. So that's how that works day number 1. Day number 2 is the same exact thing. You have your groups that were established from day number 1. It'll be the 1 seed, but again, if the 15 beat the 1 seed, then they're the 1 seed. 1 seed with like a 7 seed, a 10 seed, and a 16 seed. And you play on again until you get 2 teams there as well, and then they move on to the bracket stage where that's also already seeded. So it'll be 1 seed versus 8 seed, 2 seed versus 7 seed on the other side of the bracket, and so on and so forth. So we're going to see these seeds flip around a lot. Now, here's some guarantees we have. The top 4 teams, or the invited teams, are the top 4 seeds, no matter what. They have the top 4 seeds. If you won your qualifiers in Dreamhack, then you get 5 or 6 seeds. So that would be Energy, and that would be Flipside Tactics. So they'll be either the 5th or 6th seed. 7th and 8th seed are for the second places in those. Excuse me. Oh, man, it's rough. So, that would be 7th and 8th seed for the dudes, and guess who? Then, it's just a free-for-all at that point for the rest of the seeds, and it depends where you have it. 9th seed, I'd say right now, is probably between Team Secret or Fnatic. Both of them are looking really good, and then so on and so forth down the line. Now, let's get into this. We'll start with 9-12, and then we'll work our way up to the finale here. So, let me figure out which one's the right one. Here we go. All right, 9 through 12. Now, people are probably not going to like my opinions, but I'm going to go for it. We've seen them play a decent amount in the past few weeks. 10 Opens. We've seen some teams play. We've seen them play in the Dreamhack qualifiers, the Hyper Cup for Europe. So I'm going to start it. I'm going to start it off with a banger. This doesn't mean necessarily that they're the 12th best team. They're just in the 9 to 12 range. This means they will be eliminated on day 2 in the final games. So this will be whoever wins that matchup would move on to the bracket, and then the other team loses. So this will be the very last games of day number 2. So we started off with a banger. I got G2 down here. They have not impressed me at all throughout this offseason so far. There is the chance that the grind pays off, and honestly, it's hard to bet a bet against the Kronovi grind. But we just saw them yesterday, or I guess it would be Tuesday, because this will come out on Thursday. Very confusing. But we just saw them on Tuesday in the Teen Open get 2-0'd by Envy, and honestly, they just didn't look that great. They haven't looked great before that in previous Teen Opens that I casted both of them. They lost to FlyQuest. They lost to Equinox at 3-0. They lost to FlyQuest in 5 games, but they just haven't looked that great. They can't find that offensive spark right now so far. JNAPS is not being able to provide those goals. So it's just not really coming for them right now. Their defense has been pretty solid, but the problem is if you score no goals, if you give up 1 or 2, it's very hard to come back from. So I think G2 might falter here. It seems like this, for every team, is going to be a really strange Dreamhack because everyone took a lot of time off. And especially the invited teams, or especially the RLCS teams, a lot of them took a lot of time off while some other teams were on the grind. So might see some surprising results here. But I got G2 down in 9 through 12, and everyone's going to turn off the video right now because I already have G2 down there. Next team, we're going to go with another banner here. Method. We have not seen Method, like, at all throughout this offseason. They played in the Hyper Cup and didn't do that well. I should have probably had the Hyper Cup up already, but we'll get it up right now. I know they lost to Gale Force in a sweep in the bracket stage, but they also lost to Excel. That's what it was. So they also lost to Excel, and honestly, a lot of people think Excel is probably one of, if not the weakest team in Europe for the RLCS purposes. And honestly, that's not a good sign for Method. Now, of course, that was best of 3, and we know pros have some qualms about their best of 3s, but still, 4 out of 5 times best of 3s are the same exact thing as best of 5s. We had stats on this earlier, but that's why I'm just not feeling Method right now. They haven't played in a lot, so who knows? It might be a little bit different, but let's see what they lost. I think they lost 2-1. Yeah, 2-1 to Excel. So who knows? Maybe they could have came back in the best 5, but we don't know. But then they had to face a Gale Force, and they got 3-0'd. They got smacked. So I feel like Method could struggle here. They've been known as a team to not do that well in online tournaments, except for the World Championship. The World Championship, they really stepped up and they played really well. They did start off pretty slow there, too, because I thought Energy played better, except for the very end of where you actually have to shoot the ball in the net. And that's where Energy faltered, and I felt like Energy lost that series more than Method won the series. So if they start off kind of weak, they are a high seed because they got invited here, so they should have easier games, but who knows? I could see them losing their seed somewhere along the ways, probably on day 2, though, so they'll probably go down into the lowers, which doesn't really matter if you lose your seed there, but they'll wind up losing in the lowers to go to the bracket stage. So that's where I have Method. Next up on the line here, we have Veritas, the up-and-comers here. So they played with Nexo, and I believe they're getting Repex back. I think it was Repex. That was the one that was subbed out. Yeah, Repex didn't play. So they played with Nexo in the Dreamhack qualifiers, made a run, came in 3rd, just barely missed out on one of those top 8 spots. They played really well. I thought they were passing relatively well. And this is one of those teams hungry. They want to try and improve and show why they're one of the better teams compared to the RLCS teams that are taking a little bit of time off. And I think this grind could pay off a little bit. I want to see what Repex brings. Nexo played really well, I thought, in the qualifiers, but they're going to go with Repex here. So we'll see if that helps them or hurts them. Who knows? But I have them making some noise here and at least almost making it to the bracket stage. Veritas in the 9 through 12 spots. Next up, who else do I got here? We have Equinox coming in another spot. Again, these are in no order. I just kind of wrote them this way. So Equinox will just miss out as well. This is Jacob, Corrupted G, and Chrome. They've looked like a pretty decent North America team. They did sweep G2 earlier in the Ting Open. But I still haven't seen Jacob wow me yet on this team. And Chrome has actually been playing extremely well. But I think they'll just miss out here. Comes down to, will Jacob kind of step up here and play well? This is the first LAN that they're playing together. We'll see how that makes them fare. But I think they'll do okay. They'll probably finish exactly where they're seated. They're probably going to be seated right around 12 or 13. And I think they won't move up anywhere. It's going to be tough because if they're seated around that 12 spot, that's right around that 5th or 4th spot that they'll have to be fighting. Most likely the 5th, which will be either Energy or Flipside, and I don't think they'll beat either of those teams. So, I have Equinox coming in 9 through 12. Next up, we got the 5 through 8s. Who do I start with here? All right, 5 through 8. My first one, Team Secret. Team Secret could win this entire thing. Very easily could. They have been playing absolutely phenomenally. They won the Hyper Cup. They've been shocking me. They played, what else did they play? Oh, the Dreamhack qualifiers, they didn't have the greatest run there, but I think that was more, Tylacto seemed to be having an off day, while iIgnite is just a beast. He is scoring everything. And Flame, if he's alone, 1v1 plays, he's been phenomenal. So if Tylacto kind of steps up here, they have a real good shot to win this entire thing. And I have them making it to the bracket, but I have them falling here. They are a very solid team. This is my underdog team. Like, this is my sleeper team throughout this entire tournament. Watch for them to make some moves here and possibly win this entire thing. But I have them coming in the bracket stage, at least in the money, but losing out there. Next up, we got Flipside Tactics. So Flipside surprised me by winning the Dreamhack qualifiers. They're going to get a good seed because of that for the European region. And they're one of those teams that I think it might be because a lot of the European teams have been taking a lot of time off. That Flipside is getting a little bit more success here. I still don't think they are like the most amazing team in the world. They did lose to WLF in the Hyper Cup, but WLF also beat PSG, so who's to say? And I don't know, like Flipside is a middle of the road team to me. Like, I don't think they're as good as they showed in the qualifiers. I think as these teams are practicing more and more before the tournament, teams will surpass Flipside, possibly. Obviously, this is with Yukio coming in, keyboard and mouse player. He looked timid in the Dreamhack qualifiers, but, you know, I assume with time that'll settle down. But they'll have a pretty decent seed here, so they'll get weaker teams early on. But there's not a ton of weak teams here. Like, if they're the 6th seed, they would eventually play like a 13 seed. Or I'm sorry, an 11 seed to possibly make it to bracket or whatever. And that would be Team Envy right now, ish. It'd be like a Team Envy spot. And that could be tough. So they might not even make it bracket. Who knows? It depends where seeds flip again. But I have Flipside here coming in 5 through 8. Next up, my next team is Ghost Gaming. Now, this is a complete shot in the dark. We need flashlights to see these ghosts, but we haven't seen them yet. I think ghosts are not real, so maybe this team is not real. Who knows? I honestly have no idea. We haven't seen them play. I really like Matt. I think Lethamir and Matt could be a great combo. Zane Jackie been playing pretty well as well before the end of the season, so I'm just throwing a shot in the dark here, and I have ghosts coming in 5 through 8. There's not much to be said because we haven't seen them play. So I think Matt is a really good talent, though, and can elevate that team on the offensive side. So I'm putting them there. But we haven't seen them, so who knows. Next up, I have PSG. I thought about putting PSG in the 9 through 12, but I decided to put them in 5 through 8. It was a very close. Like I was like, should I kind of play around and put Veritas in the 5 through 8? But I thought PSG was a better team. PSG is very similar to a lot of these teams invited. They haven't played in a lot, and they haven't shown anything. They lost in the Teen Open to Fnatic 3-0. They lost in the Hyper Cup to WLF, but they did beat Team Envy. So, like, they do have good victories at times, and sometimes they have poor victories. 3-day event. I just think a couple more poor victories might come out. They might have a hard bracket. But if PSG makes the bracket, they could definitely make a run. And that's where I have them in the quarterfinals losing, but PSG very possibly making a run here, but I think it could be a surprise if, well, not really a surprise. It's not that surprising to me if they don't make bracket because they haven't been playing all that well and they've been losing to mediocre teams. Next up, we will go to the top 4. So, if you guys watch me and Wave talk about the rosters, I predicted 3 and 4, and it's exactly the same as what I predicted then. And that was just a complete guess, but now it's for real. We're going Fnatic, number 4, or 3-4. They just won Teen Open. They look like they're ramping up at the perfect time. They, what did they do in Hyper Cup? I can't remember off the top of my head. They lost to Envy, 3-1. So, I think Envy's beat them 3-1 twice in a row now in the same week. But besides that, they're beating people. They're beating a lot of these teams. Sorry, my voice is dying here. Hopefully I get better shortly. But they had WLF in their group. They wind up taking them down. I believe they played them at some point. No, they didn't actually play them. They just beat Flipside. Didn't have to play WLF. So, who knows. But Fnatic, I think they've looked pretty solid. This team comes down to Maestro. If Maestro's on his game, Fnatic's a very good squad. If he's off his game, the other two don't have enough offensive prowess, I would say, to carry this team. So Maestro really has to be playing well. And he's a certified LAN boy, so I expect him to show up once again here. Every time he's at a LAN, he shows up. So I got Fnatic there. Next up, I have Envy, their counterpart. I think these two teams are very similar. Envy and Fnatic, very close in skill. Envy's taken the last 2 games. It all depends on the bracket, obviously, but Envy, they made it to the finals. Here, they've beaten Gale Force twice. Oh, that's the team I forgot. I'm going to have to sub out one of these teams for Gale Force. I can't believe I forgot Gale Force, but that's fine. We'll go back to it. So Envy, they've beaten Gale Force twice in these past few weeks. But They have a chance here. They have a real good chance here. Like, I put them in Team Secret, or like, you know, like if I had to be like, you know what, who's going to win this? Like if I had to bet money and the odds, you know, were obviously proper odds, I'd probably put money on Envy and Secret because they would have good odds and they're both looking relatively decent. We'll go back to the bottom 4, but all right, so here's a spoiler. Gale Force is going to be in 5 through 8. So just put it that way. For some reason, I completely flaked that up. It's this head cold, man. I'm telling you. Anyway. Number 2, NRG. Energy has nothing to play for here. They're going to be playing for fun. They have a new squad. I really like this team of Garrett, Fireburner, and Torment. I think they have a chance here. Who knows how much practice they've been getting, but the Energy is known to make some runs. They either completely fall apart or they make a run at these events. So I'm going to give Energy a second place going to the finals just so we have an EU and a final. And number 1, I have Guess Who. Guess Who faltered a little bit in qualifiers. We haven't seen them a lot, actually, in most of these events. But I believe they're very similar to G2. I think they're grinding right now, but I believe in their grind a little bit more than G2's grind, just because G2 has looked extremely weak. Guess Who still looked pretty decent in the Dreamhack qualifiers, barely losing out to Flipside. But I have Guess Who winning this whole thing as like a new kid on the block, coming out and taking a victory here. But let's go back to 5 through 8 because I completely forgot about Gale Force. Oh man, it's been something. I probably forgot someone else too, but I'm pretty sure it's just Gale Force. We're gonna move one of these teams down, and that means see you later, PSG. I already had them on the bubble, so I got Gale Force Esports coming in 5 through 8. I think this might be a surprise, but Gale Force has not, like, they've been kind of lazy as well. I think they'll still make bracket based on their skill, but I think they could lose there in the quarterfinals. And then we'll move PSG down to here. We'll get rid of... We'll get rid of Method. PSG will come in 9 through 12. Method will miss out completely. It'd probably be Veritas if I want to be truthful. But, you know, got to play their heart a little bit with the underdog. So, Veritas will still make it through. PSG comes in here. Method gets eliminated. Look at this. Predictions are crazy. But these are my top 12 teams coming into DreamHack. This is a very weird time of the year. Long off season. It's the start of 2018. A lot of teams took a lot of time off. And who knows how they're going to perform. I think this is anyone's tournament. Like, this is probably the most wide open tournament we might have ever had because of just the unknowns, of just who knows how hard these teams are practicing. A lot of these teams might not even be practicing that hard. They're like, yeah, it's only 50K. We're getting ready for RLCS, the 500K coming up. So this is what I got, guys. Tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me who else I forgot about. But this is my list. So we got Guess Who winning the whole thing. Energy number 2. Envy, Fnatic, Gale Force Esports, Ghost Game, and Flipside Attackers, Team Secret, Equinox, Veritas, PSG, G2. So some other teams to watch out for. Dignitas could make a run and make it somewhere in, probably around 9 to 12, maybe even make bracket. FlyQuest, don't ever count them out. They'll probably have at least one upset win. They might not make it all the way, but they'll at least have some surprising games where at least it's really close, if not taking out at least one team to hurt their seeding later on. That's all I got, guys. I'm dying here. Sorry if I sound like crap, and if you don't want to listen, that's fine. You can just put it on mute and see me list all these people out. But that'll do it for me. I'm off to DreamHack in 10 hours? Like 9 hours now. 9 hours is my flight to Germany. This is going up on Thursday, though, so I'll already be in Germany. Barely. I'll be in Germany, though. And I'm really excited for this event. And I hope you guys are, too. Make sure you check it out this weekend. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Tons of content. It's like 8-hour streams or something like that. It's something insane. So come check it out. I think there's rewards. I'm not actually sure. But just write exclamation point rewards and you'll get rewards. So that'll do it for me. Thank you guys for watching. And we'll see you next time.